Hello and welcome. My name is Piper Hansen, and I'm a project manager with Mid-Sound Fisheries Enhancement Group. We've partnered with King Conservation District to bring you this webinar series in collaboration with Facet Northwest. In this second part of our webinar series, we're going to explore how small changes in our everyday behaviors actually has a pretty large impact on wildlife and salmon as they navigate the lakes. If you'd like to learn more about behavior changes that you can make to benefit wildlife, check out part one, where we discuss natural beaches, the benefits of native landscaping, and how to control introduced species such as milfoil and Himalayan blackberry. But for now, let's get started.
As residents living near or on the shorelines, you are the first line of defense to notice, react, and lead the charge on protecting and preserving lake health. As you learn of these issues, you have the ability to influence regulatory changes through political advocacy and organization. Looking at what we've heard about development around lakes and our attitudes about personal pollution, we can see that there is a pattern. As our knowledge changes, and we learn more about how we can affect lake health, our culture about lake protection changes too. We see changes on a personal level through our actions and preferences. We see other changes follow, such as products and trends, educational campaigns and resources, and regulatory changes such as laws and ordinances. In line with this pattern is new emerging research about a pollutant we have not yet mentioned that is degrading lake health. This pollutant not only affects people, but also birds, insects, and our local salmon populations. Currently, juvenile salmon populations are dwindling at alarming rates during the lake phase of their lifespan. And researchers at the University of Washington have identified the pollutant that is aiding in these astonishing declines. This pollutant is light pollution, otherwise known as artificial light at night. And unlike other pollutants, it can be mitigated with the flip of a switch.
Experiencing a truly dark sky is amazing. Many people consider stargazing a hobby or a recreational activity. However, many species and ecosystems, including our lake systems, depend on dark skies for a healthy balance. Light pollution began in the 1950s and 60s as highways spread across the nation, and with them, streetlights. In those days, stores closed at the end of the day, and there were no expectations for 24/7 convenience. But with highways and streetlights came gas stations and lit parking lots, and today, much of the world is considered light polluted. This has consequences for many species and entire ecosystems. More recently, the accessibility of LED lights has further increased the use of artificial light at night. This image here is a time lapse of light captured by satellite sensors. The light that reaches these satellites is wasted light illuminating the skies. Here in the US, more than 99% of the US population lives under light-polluted skies. And the Milky Way is hidden from nearly 80% of North Americans. There is a high likelihood you could live your whole life without ever knowing it was even possible to see the Milky Way. Losing that common human experience of viewing the humbling sight of the Milky Way is only one of the many consequences of light pollution. More and more research is pointing to light at night as the main cause of numerous ecological issues for many different species. Animals are drawn to the light. It's a phenomenon called positive phototaxis. While this instinct developed as an advantage before electricity, it now has become detrimental to populations. Light pollution comes in many forms. The problem is that much of the outdoor lighting we have is inefficient, excessively bright, poorly targeted, improperly shielded, and often unnecessary. These lights may focus on the actual objects and areas that people want illuminated. However, they may also shine up into the sky and horizon. The types of light pollution we're going to focus on include glare, sky glow, and light trespass. Glare is excessive brightness that can reduce your ability to see or temporarily blind you, like the experience of staring into someone's headlights if they turn on their high beams. Here's a quick example of how glare works to reduce visibility. You can do this experiment on your own on a dark evening by moving your palm over a light source and allowing your eyes to adjust. Too much light can decrease light's ability to function as a safety measure around your home. As you can see here, the glare is preventing you from seeing the person standing in the gate. Sky glow is the artificial brightening of the night sky due to human-created light scattering in the atmosphere. Sky glow is caused by both outdoor lighting as well as indoor lighting that escapes through windows without any covering. Sky glow can be intensified by light being reflected down by cloud cover or reflected up off of a water surface. Researchers on Lake Washington have found that sky glow is present and strong enough to be as much as twice as bright as a full moonlit night. The other type of light pollution is light trespass, where lighting shines outside of the intended target area. When we talk about shoreline light pollution, light trespass is when light shines directly into the water. Street lights and lighting from buildings close to shallow waters can penetrate through the entire water column. Light directed at the water affects wildlife behavior. The brighter the light, the stronger the impact. This image is a lighting design advertisement. While it is a beautiful image, there is a lack of awareness of issues related to artificial light at night. The lighting designer was not given a goal to reduce sky glow and to avoid direct water lighting. There are many ways to reduce artificial light at night to achieve that goal. You can minimize glare and sky glow by being mindful of bulb brightness and using only as much as you need. Today, with the availability of low-energy bulbs like LEDs, the Department of Energy recommends that you shop for bulbs by comparing lumens, which actually measures brightness, versus wattage, which measures energy use. Packaging for light bulbs now requires lumens to be listed on the label. Dark sky-friendly lighting recommends not exceeding 500 to 600 lumens per fixture.
As we learn more about artificial light at night, many communities around the lake are responding with regulations to encourage lake-friendly lighting. For example, the city of Issaquah has new ordinances about dock lighting to preserve lake health. New regulations about lighting will be informed by our knowledge about how light affects the lake environment. Getting back to our lake ecosystem, we're going to focus now on the example of local salmon and recent research on how artificial light at night affects them. Salmon are keystone species. Their survival at each life stage is tied to many other ecosystems and species. This is one of the reasons salmon are studied and funded extensively in our region. As a keystone species, we know that what affects salmon affects a much broader ecosystem up and down in both the food chain and the watersheds, which is why survival at the juvenile stage is incredibly important for the food web. It is at this juvenile stage when multiple species of salmon are using the lakeshore and where they are most vulnerable. You may or may not have ever asked yourself the question, what do salmon do at night? Do salmon sleep? Salmon, like all fish, do have a sleep cycle, but their sleep is different than ours. More importantly, juvenile salmon are in fact very active at night. It is under the cover of darkness when juvenile salmon can safely feed and migrate. If juvenile salmon are feeding at night, then what are they eating? They eat insects that are active at night and zooplankton that also migrate at night from deep in the lake up to the surface. Darkness is also the time when it is hardest for predator fish or birds to see juvenile salmon in the water. Under a dark sky, they can feed in open shallows undetected or migrate up to the shoreline out to sea with a low risk of being hunted. Salmon are also vulnerable to light pollution because of how it affects their behavior. To understand the impact, we need to further understand how salmon behave during the night versus during the day. A research team of USGS and Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife scientists looked at this for both juvenile salmon as well as predator fish. During the day, juvenile salmon either swim deep in the water column or up in the near shore shallows. Predator fish move up and down in the water column, but their vision is greatly impacted by the depth. The cylinder shown here represents how far and wide they can see. the vision of the predator fish is significantly greater at the surface during the day. But during the day, juvenile salmon at the surface group themselves together in schools, making it more difficult to hunt them. During dawn and dusk, the juvenile salmon are in the process of dispersing themselves through predator levels in the water column. They are no longer in schools, and predator fish vision is in their mid-range. Predators have the advantage during dawn and dusk. During the night, juvenile salmon disperse, and those that were hiding in the depths rise towards the surface. This is the time they move, feed, and migrate. Predator fish also move toward the surface, but their vision is poorest during this time, and juvenile salmon have the advantage. The conclusion of the study found that if light pollution is bright enough, it keeps the lake at night in a perpetual state of dusk or dawn. This could have a huge impact on juvenile salmon predation. And remember how juvenile salmon eat zooplankton that wait until night to rise to the surface? Other studies are being done to see how much their movement is also affected by light pollution. So far, researchers have found that they are in fact affected, further challenging the survival of juvenile salmon.
Salmon aren't the only ones affected by light pollution. Did you know that birds migrate at night as well? We are located on what's called the Pacific Flyway, and many of the birds you see on the lake, like these three, the common yellowthroat, the green-winged teal, and the bufflehead, migrated here at night. Scientists from Cornell University and other institutions created Birdcast, a tracking tool that shows how dramatically bird migration changes from day to night. This is a great tool to see when birds are migrating right over our heads. While migrations of salmon and birds are seasonal, there is year-round activity by nocturnal creatures. Bats, of course, but also many other mammals, amphibians, reptiles, and insects are all active at night. Nocturnal creatures are specifically adapted to be active at night. Their vision is different from ours in that they have larger lenses and more rod cells in their eyes. Rod cells are light receptors that allow them to see in dim light. Feeding, mating, migrating, all these essential functions evolved using the light of the cycles of the moon and the stars. But since the Industrial Revolution, and more significantly in this past century, artificial light at night and light pollution has dramatically changed our night skies, affecting these nocturnal animals. Light pollution radically changes the nighttime environment by turning night into day or dusk. Artificial light attracts and confuses animals and affects critical functions such as being able to avoid predators. Research on nocturnal insects has found that up to 1/3 of insects attracted to light sources will die before morning. When they circle lights, they miss their brief opportunities to mate. They can be eaten by light-stalking predators, or they can die from exhaustion. Birds depend on natural cues like day length to migrate and celestial cycles to navigate through the night skies. Artificial light can cause birds to wander off course or migrate too early or too late. A mistimed migration means that they miss the ideal climate conditions for nesting, foraging, and other specific behaviors to survival. In a more dramatic example, many cities are attempting to address the issue of birds being killed by collisions with illuminated high-rise buildings and towers. Unlike many other types of pollution that linger in the environment, reductions in light pollution are immediate. There are many ways to make the lighting around your home more salmon and lake-friendly. The causes of light pollution are hyper-local, so changes made by individuals and small groups can make a quick and observable difference. From this presentation, the evidence makes it clear that the most impactful change would be to have no lights at night. However, there are ways to have artificial light at night that is minimized, intentional, safe, and responsible. This illustration shows a lakefront shoreline with potential to become more salmon-friendly and encourage starry skies. What conditions do you see that could be improved upon using some of what we talked about today? think about the topics such as glare, sky glow, and light trespass. The following 5 recommendations provide a simple approach to determining what you can do to reduce or eliminate the harmful effects of artificial light at night. The first step is an inventory. Walk around your property and ask yourself, what is the function of each light? Light is useful for safe wayfinding and to help perform specific tasks. For example, to illuminate an entryway, stairs, or an address number. Where lights are necessary, how many lights are needed? How far apart can path lights be set? If you find lights that are not useful or necessary, remove or disable them so that they are not accidentally turned on. The before and after examples shown here demonstrate reductions in lighting, including minimizing light to only have the porch light illuminated, minimizing architectural lighting by tucking fixtures below eaves, shielding outdoor lighting, and covering all windows so that no interior light is escaping. The next step is to ask, does light fall only where it is needed? If you've determined that it's important to light your porch, is that light directed down and not up into the sky? Is it shielded? Is there glare? To address shielding, imagine looking at a light fixture at eye level. The light source or bulb should be even with or recessed within the light fixture, ensuring there is no glare. Some fixtures can be retrofitted by purchasing a shield or a low-profile bulb that will not extend below the existing shield. If you do decide to replace fixtures, there are numerous options widely available, including options that we list on the Salmon Friendly Lakes website. The International Dark Skies Association also offers a certification that you can look out for when making your choice. A crucial part of assessing your home is also assessing dock lighting if you have a dock on your shoreline. The illustration on the left shows how dock lighting can be modified to light the dock path surface without lighting the water column beneath. The examples on the right show 2 fixtures that are extremely similar in aesthetics, with the important distinction in how recessed the bulb is set. Similar to that eye-level bulb, one bulb is exposed, the other one is set in, thus reducing glare and trespass. Here's another example of a dock with salmon-friendly lighting. While the first question you would ask yourself would be, do I need any lights at all? If dock lights are necessary, make sure you are lighting in a way that minimizes light trespass into the water. The next step is to consider using active controls on the lights. Active controls include timers and motion sensors that can allow you to automate your lighting to be on demand, as well as allow for lighting to remain off for longer periods, which reduces the impact on the night sky as well as saves electricity. Motion sensors should be set to times of 5 minutes or less. The sensitivity of the sensor can be set so that the light only turns on when people are present. This is great for situations like lighting where garbage cans are kept, or on a dock that is rarely used at night. You can purchase motion sensor devices or bulbs that come in a variety of sizes to replace bulbs in most existing fixtures. When looking for the right motion sensor bulb, remember to look for bulbs with lower lumens. The next 2 steps consider the quality of the light. As we discussed earlier in the presentation, there is a range of lumens or brightness available when purchasing light bulbs. You can evaluate the brightness of the lights around your yard and decide if the lighting level is too bright for the intended task or not. Bulbs can be replaced with lower lumen options, or dimmers can be added to controls. In addition to lumens, consider the temperature or kelvins of the bulbs you purchase. The International Dark Skies Association recommends lighting with a color temperature of no more than 3000 Kelvin. Consider going as warm as possible. Bulbs of all types, including motion sensor floodlights, can be found with temperatures below 3000 Kelvin. So returning to our original slide, to see all the different ways that lights are shining into the environment, we now have a better understanding of direct actions we can take to minimize light glare, sky glow, and trespass. Here we see what an after condition could be with responsible outdoor lighting. Again, lights off is best for a healthy lake ecosystem and salmon, but when you need light, you have lots of options for lighting your shoreline responsibly. Like Issaquah, many lakefront communities are beginning to make regulatory changes to support and protect starry nights. As a resident of these communities, you have an impact on how these regulations are made. If you are interested in dark skies and artificial light at night, you can get in touch with your representatives to share your input and participate in the process. To get started, check out the Artificial Light at Night toolkit that we have published on the Salmon Friendly Lakes website. This is something that you can also share with your representatives.
Thank you for tuning into this webinar to learn more about salmon-friendly lakes and the impacts of artificial light at night. We discovered that excessive or poorly designed lighting doesn't just wash out the stars, it disrupts natural rhythms of wildlife, including salmon and many other species. Artificial light at night can interfere with migration, feeding, and reproduction, creating ripple effects throughout entire ecosystems. The good news is light pollution is one of the most easily reversible environmental issues. By making smart choices like shielding outdoor lights, using lower lumen bulbs, and turning lights off when they're not needed, we can protect our night skies. We can improve salmon survival rates, and we can help restore balance to our environment. Do you want to take the next step? Contact your city officials and let them know that reducing light pollution matters to you. Encourage them to adopt dark sky friendly policies and support responsible lighting in our communities. Your voice matters. Together, we can create safer, healthier spaces for wildlife and for all of us.